Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday to you on this August 21st, 2025. I have all of the stories for your rush hour ride to work. In this episode, exclusively, we'll be dealing with the Clayton Echard versus Laura Owens trial that officially has ended. We've got news that came out last night that the Supreme Court of Arizona will be refusing to hear the case. They lost on the appeal. They've now lost literally as far up the flagpole as one could go. Laura Owens' attorney may think there is light at the end of the table. I'm here to tell you there is not. I'm also going to be discussing a relatively difficult topic to discuss. I wanted to offer that trigger warning to everyone out there, which is suicide. That is the trigger warning. We will be talking about suicide, the threats thereof, and things like that. So just letting you guys know, a little heavy there, but something that is, we need to address. Arizona Supreme Court denies Laura Owens' appeal August 19th, 2025. This here, again, shared by Justice for Clayton official. Breaking news: after 2 years of filings, hearings, and appeals, the Owens versus Echard paternity case has officially ended in Arizona, with Justice for Clayton being fully served. The Arizona Supreme Court denied Laura Owens' petition for review, leaving intact the 19-page trial court ruling that found she was never pregnant and had fabricated her claims against Clayton Echard. Again, this was the case that we attended June 10th, 2024, I believe. Yeah. And I'm going to share with you guys some wild stuff. I've got some receipts you've never seen before. I worked through this on yesterday's Patreon, really trying to find out how I wanted to pursue this conversation. I'm going to get to the spoiler, which is Laura Owens is okay. That's the spoiler. But I received an email that was quite disturbing. We'll get to that in a second. Second half of this episode, we talk with Rich Lieberman. I got to tell you, I really like this guy. Uncle Rich. Everyone call him Uncle Rich from now on. Rich Lieberman, San Francisco personality. And in the relative inner circle of the Owens family, or at least has been in the past, he says he has been felt that he's been used by the family. Again, a lot of people have. Join the club, right? People think that they're trying their best and that they're on the right side of the story and there's more to it, and don't worry, the truth is going to come out. Well, I mean, they rang this thing all the way up the flagpole here in Arizona. You can't take it any further, right? So here's what Laura's attorney had to say. I've officially been banned or blocked by him. I don't know. I don't think I've tweeted to him once. But either way, he loves the First Amendment rights, which again, cool. He said this: saw it, sad. Again, that being that the Supreme Court neglected to cover this case. No shockers, right? Not overly surprised. The outcome was wrong, but the court wasn't willing to help. It happens. That aspect of the case is over. The next phase before the Arizona bar will begin next month. Confident the result will finally be something better than what happened here. It's David Gingras, God bless him. He's like Wile E. Coyote. I feel like he should be on Amazing Race. The guy doesn't have quit in him, right? Would you not watch David Gingras and Laura Owens competing in Amazing Race? I would. So I'm not saying he's spiraled. I don't know what's going on, but he claims, I guess, that the disciplinary committee, and by the way, so not only did Laura lose her case officially, it's over, Supreme Court, boom, done. I don't know, trial it in some court that doesn't matter. In this court, that matters in our country, it's done. Well, the State Bar of Arizona referred Gingras to the disciplinary committee to decide if he broke ethics rules. Let me tell you guys something. I'm covering about 5 different topics right now that all should be breaking news, top of the story. I mean, what I have right now, this is all the craziest. This is all of the craziest stuff culminating into the Mount Everest peak of crazy. So he was referred to the disciplinary committee to decide if he broke ethics rules. Punishment could mean suspension or even disbarment. I think he was suspended for his first DUI. This was his second. Again, whether it has to do with anything what the previous judge says, I'm not really sure. But he's saying that while this would normally be bad news, in this case, it really is not. I don't know if Gingras has been going to yoga, but he's very limber as he's trying to stretch these things into a positive. It's not. It is not a positive. I'm just here to tell him that. And he also accused the senior bar counsel, James Lee, of having cognitive problems. All right, yeah, maybe the guy's just got lead poisoning, you know? These boomers out there are licking the lead paint in the 70s. huffing some of that gasoline your mom would make you drive around with the windows rolled up. I understand there's a lot of neurological issues. I'm kidding, boomers. We're all, or maybe, Gen X, whatever the generation you were. We're all messed up in different ways. All right, here it is. Here's what the spoiler is. This is what it's all about. This is no other way to say it. I got this email 2 nights ago. It came in the afternoon. I don't check my email too often. It's chaotic. So I got this late 2 nights ago. Yesterday is when we had to deal with what I'm about to read to you. Hello, Dave. And again, trigger warning on this one. Suicide. Hello, Dave. I found your email address online. I have on very good authority that LMO attempted suicide today and left a note calling out you specifically, and also Lauren N. So again, today's Thursday. This would have been Tuesday. She called me out, Lauren N., Megan F., Omar, Rachel, Steve, JFC, Instagram, and Reddit as her reasons. I'm not sure if she made it. I'm assuming survived. I am not sure if she made it, and I would not be playing it so cocky about you not being sued by her family. You should be ashamed of yourself for destroying this woman who I have known for more than a decade. As part of her friend group, none of us wanted to come forward to publicly support her because we have been scared of what JFC would do to us, our families, and our livelihoods. But that does not mean she has not been loved by very many. Have you taken the time to know her instead of making her life hell? I think you would have found that she was a much different person than you made her out to be. All the best, KB. Sent with Proton Mail, secure email. Proton Mail is out of Switzerland, and the reason why a lot of journalists use Proton Mail is you can't subpoena them, so it feels like a very safe, untraceable way to start an email. Now, we already know, we've proven that Laura Owens created a fake black journalist named Chase J. Jones. We actually were able to prove that and debunk those claims that Chase J. Jones was a journalist in several different methods. But this, you have to take seriously. Now, I understood and believed that this was absolutely sent to me by Laura Owens, which is a threat. I'm a witness in this upcoming trial. Now, can I prove it was sent by Laura? I don't know. It will be sent to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. But more importantly, after sitting on this overnight, I decided to call Scottsdale Police and do a wellness check because, believe it or not, whether she actually had attempted suicide or was just sending me a threatening letter, it is batshit crazy enough that we need to handle this. And I talked to detectives and I explained to them the situation. I sent them this email. And by the way, this was my response. I said, look, I tried to get Laura on the phone. We tried to get her side. We only got fake evidence. I can't and won't be judged for what others did. If anyone bullied her, I have only covered this case to pursue the truth. If you want to jump on a call and fill me in with any info I'm missing, I am free anytime. Thanks, Dave. So whether it's Chase J. Jones or Laura Owens or KB, in any of these cases, nobody got the fuck back to me. Now you might say, Dave, it's so obvious this is Laura. Well, maybe. But even if I'm on the right side of the story, I still know Laura has severe mental health issues. Knowing that does not mean we give her a pass and let these men and the families around them and the lives that have been ruined just deal with it. She has 3 active restraining orders against them. She's got a TED Talk where she's accusing one guy of, of abusing her. She wild claims made about Greg Woodnick, and so on and so forth. So the list goes on. So I contacted Scottsdale Police and spoke to the detectives. So I'm here to tell you the spoiler that I said earlier, which is they said she's fine. She is fine. Now, we'll see the body cam footage of what that actually means, but I don't take it lightly. And when I get an email like that, which I'm sure she'll deny, I have no idea who sent that. We contacted the person who we believe to be the person she is, pretending to be. Have yet to heard back, but we do think she was pretending to be somebody, and I'm sure that person does not know. And again, if this was your friend, would you email me? Scottsdale Police never received an email that she attempted suicide. So whether it's Laura's own delusion, I need her family to know they have failed her. They have not done a good job in protecting her and getting her the right medication and whatever else she needs. There is quite literally nothing else I can do at this point to help this woman other than say, Ron and Jan, shame on you. Now, speaking of Ron, coming up with my interview with Uncle Rich, he's going to share some opinions that Ron might be cognitively impaired and that Jan's behind the whole steering wheel of this project. No evidence, but that's an opinion he has. But either way, somebody has dropped the ball big time. So anyhow, the Scottsdale police got back to me. The detectives got back to me and said, thanks for your help. We checked on her. She's fine. So whether or not they actually saw her, we'll see in the body cam footage. But by the way, this was an email that Clayton had received back in January. Check this out. Again, I say this because it was also sent with Proton Mail. Hi, last November, I adopted twins in what I thought was a private adoption with a woman named Laura Owens, and no, they are yours. You are the dad. Laura has threatened me with going public because she is trying to clear her name, but that was not part of the adoption plan. I want a paternity test done with you as soon as possible, or I will get the court to order it and will approach the media. I'll have the twins take it anywhere, anytime, and keep this private if you are willingly participate in the testing. We are just in Glendale. J.A. Blaze. So J.A., K.B., who the hell these people are. I wish I had an insider at Proton Mail. You know, Proton Mail doesn't respond to subpoenas, but we might have some fans or audience members in the Switzerland region. Send me some chocolate and let me know who is behind these accounts, please. I mean, here is, by the way, this is wild. Here is the FBI phone call that was made after Laura claimed she was having suicidal thoughts because of my content.
She put in an electronic tip, so she did one through the FBI website. And it's a very long tip. She just talks about how she's being harassed and defamed online by other individuals. But there is one sentence that she puts in here where she states, I have written to Mr. Neal on at least 2 occasions, telling him that his false portrayal of me publicly has left me at times feeling borderline suicidal. So it's for the vague suicidal comments.
But wait, there's more.
Do you know what Laura looks like?
Bombshell.
I do not. It seems like she has a history of making reports to the Scottsdale Police Department.
Wow. So we have fans in the FBI department. We know that. They're listening. They understand that Laura's got this problem. This was almost 2 years ago. This was when Laura was still trying to sue me for harassment. Obviously, all of my information checked out. After this call to Scottsdale Police was made, and by the way, here is all the best research who shared this. Here's the moment where Laura claims, no, I'm not suicidal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... It's insane.
So somebody at the FBI actually saw your complaint today.
Right.
And saw that where it's like these videos make you borderline suicidal, and they're like...
Right.
They were like, oh, we better call Scottsdale and make sure you're not actually going to hurt yourself.
Right. No.
And you're not.
No, I'm not.
You don't need any assistance?
No.
Okay, so the cop, and God bless these cops, right? The cops doing their job. Just, if you live in Scottsdale, I mean, how much of your taxpayer money do you want spent on this type of malarkey? This is malarkey. That's all it is. Absolute capital M malarkey. And I'm a good-natured person. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to be walked all over, and I think Laura has learned this. Who knows? I thought she learned her lesson, that you can get nice and grace out of me. I'll give that to you all day long, but it doesn't mean I'm going to roll over. And my audience, we've stood by the truth. We've exposed, and this is where we're at. And everyone gets there at a different time. Rich Lieberman only found out about this story in January. He was family friends with Ron Owens, knew them, had a falling out, and even contacted them recently. They, Jan Black, continued to say, I'm the troublemaker. Well, here's my chat with Uncle Rich. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited today to be joined by San Francisco media personality. It's Rich Lieberman. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you?
Good, man. You know, you remind me a lot of my childhood upbringing of sports talk radio. You've got that sports you could talk about. I feel like you could read the phone book and you'd make it interesting.
Well, look at this. I call myself Uncle Fester with sensitivity.
You know, it's funny. I know your videos are good. The closer you get to the camera, you really got to deliver the content.
I look like it in a game of hide and go seek. I know.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to kind of start by your relation to Ron Owens, and then I want to take that and lead up to this quote you had from yesterday where you said, I don't like being used. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a delicate place because you know the Owens family. I've been covering their daughter Laura's alleged fraud and all of the other things. What were you surprised when this story first came out, having known the Owens family? And what kind of like sort of you've had your own issues with them in the past. Where were you at then versus kind of where you're at now with them?
Just like everybody else in your area and my area, in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose area, we're all, well, I'm speaking for myself, but yeah, shocked. Not that this couldn't happen to anyone and everyone, because it's called what? Human life, right? We're all fragile. We all have certain areas of just plain old, oh my God. And that's the general reaction in the Bay Area as to this whole thing. And to a point where and this is somewhat surprising that it's not getting the coverage that I think and many others, neutral people, even people close to Ron, and I guess by extension Jan and Laura herself, are mystified, and which adds a tentacle of ridiculousness to this whole thing too. And nothing near as onerous as the Laura Owens situation, but still, nonetheless. But to answer your question on a kind of a sub basis, yes, shocking, absolute shocking.
Jan Black has been my number one PR source, because what has happened, and it's kind of like the Streisand effect, is I'll have people reach out to me that worked with Ron Owens saying, we heard about you, you were this bad guy, and then we looked
Right.
into it and we can't believe it. So did you start with the belief that this was a smear job, or was there what was the first piece of media do you remember consuming about this case?
Well, like a lot of people, I read the articles in the local press, or the Chronicle, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Jose Mercury at the beginning of the year when they had interviewed Ron, and he talked about facing medical issues, which I'm sure is well chronicled, and you've discussed it, and obstacles, he called obstacles in life, and that he was asking people to send money in a GoFundMe page. And I thought, wow, Ron, of all people, a man who I knew very, very early in his life, and he mentored me and all that. I say, Ron, I mean, look, we all have issues in life. We all have challenges, and family and personal and, professional. The last person I would think would be Ron. And look, I know that he had dealt with, early onset Parkinson's, which was very well detailed here and all that, but nothing like this. And then I didn't even know about his daughter, and I didn't even know about the situation that has, captured quite a bit of tens of thousands of people and all that. And I read it, and I thought, oh my God, Laura Owens and Sarah, the two daughters I was, led to believe were just part of this magical family. This guy who was a media titan in the Bay Area and beloved. And as you mentioned on your show recently, interviewed President Obama, interviewed Prince Charles and King Charles now, but interviewed celebrities and media people and politicians and showmen and comedians, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A big time dude in the Bay Area. Not just the media world here, but the entire social, hung out with politicians.
I
All
have
that.
to remind my younger audience how big terrestrial radio was, and that you kind of this parasocial relationship. It's somebody who takes you to work every day. They're, for anyone that's kind of, has in today's world, it's completely different, which is kind of ironic because you have essentially a terrestrial radio legend taken down by new media. And again, it was really it's almost like collateral damage, because no one's trying to come after Ron. He's just, this family seems to have enabled their daughter to the point of blowing through a family fortune. So what's it like as someone who's, not wasn't at that level of Ron's, but knew him, to see someone, like you said before, it's shocking to go from that sort of generational wealth to where they are now, which
Well,
is,
I had a very, very public feud with Ron. I had detailed, and in my broadcasts, and when I wrote more than what I did here on YouTube, I had talked about his falling out, how he was a absolute hero of not just mine, but many of people in the media and beyond. And we weren't talking to each other. I wasn't that close, but I was close enough. He was like a Howard Stern in my life, somebody that I looked up to in terms of this, that, and the other. And about the time when the Laura situation took place, I had publicly apologized to Ron, not for what I did, but the way in which I did it. And we talked, and I said, Ron, I'd like to clear the air, which we did. All of a sudden, Laura Owens' story emerges. And like everybody else, I was curious of what's going on. And I asked Ron himself, and I asked Jan Black. And mind you, I do this show, and I had people telling me that I sold out, that I somehow was the recipient of, if not monetary dividends, personal dividends with Ron. And I said, that's the farthest from the truth. I had been basically carping on this guy for almost over a decade. And I want to get to the truth, that kind of a thing. I want to know what's going on. I'm not indebted to Ron. He doesn't run me. Jan Black doesn't run me. And I myself became curious as to what is going on. There were some ugly situations. I wanted to know. And I called Ron and asked him and Jan, and they gave me these answers, which I was led to believe was truthful. You can see it's all on there. It's all documented. Then more developments take place. We have $130,000 of GoFundMe set up, and people putting in $10,000, $5,000, hundreds of dollars. And I said to myself, where's this money going? This is a guy, Ron, who made close to a $1.7 million, was the king of all media in San Francisco. And I became curious and stated again, my, shall we say, curiosity had run amok. And my how can I put this? I just began to say, okay, I can't do no more on this, and I put it to bed. Well, more developments ensued. We have the bankruptcy filing not that long ago. We have now the knowledge that there are lots of lawyers here. I've read a lot about Laura, and again, I even stated publicly, look, I'm not a parent. I don't have kids that I know of, but I very much feel for Ron and Jan. And then I started again. Then we have more articles coming out on your show, and people that I don't think they have an axe to grind. I certainly don't have an axe to grind. Hell, I knew Ron very, very much, was a part of my life growing up in the Bay Area. We became decent friends, and all that. I was there when he met Jan Black. I was there when he announced to the world that he was having a child, his first daughter in May of 1988.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. The fact that this case involves someone like Ron, who has a long, public, history where people kind of know the timeline and, where he's come from. Like you said, interviewing royalty, and I think he interviewed Barack Obama before he was president, maybe.
Right.
It's wild. And it's one thing, to squander all your money and need help from people, but it's another when he's still currently getting over $20,000 a month.
Well, yeah, that's curious. And look, I don't know about certain things. I like everybody else. I don't have any kind of hotline or pipeline to, see where dig through the weeds of all this. But let's just say this. Now I am somewhat. And when you took my line about being used and all that, I don't like being used. I don't like being made a conduit to something when when it suits someone else. Only when they come to me, when it suits theirs. And I'm talking about Ron and Jan now. Yes, I feel betrayed in a sense, and I do feel used. And I asked them, I know they can't talk because of the ongoing legal situation with the daughter and all that. But then I read these new articles in the papers, and I'm saying to myself, what the hell is going on here? Look, we all have issues in life. I get all that, bankruptcy, but where is this money going? And I asked that. And if they level with me and say, look, we can't talk about, which they cannot talk about certain things. I get all that, but just tell me what's going on. Let me know, so I'm not some idiot talking out loud and defending them. and defending and not having to defend the daughter, which all I've read is something smells to high heaven.
Yeah, I've actually been on a similar and opposite side where I had to be careful not to overly defend Clayton Eckerd, because if she produced some sort of evidence that she was pregnant and all these things, then we're just monsters. So, you obviously know when you cover these things, you want to be as objective as possible. And why wouldn't you want to believe your friends? We've had multiple lawyers and different people that kind of came to this case having first heard Laura's side, thinking we're some sort of monster. And then you just show the math, you show how you got to where you're at. And there's virtually zero people other than Jan and Ron that support her. The biggest question that people had, and this is why your take is so fascinating because you are right there with the family. The biggest question people have had is, was Ron Owens even posting these Facebook posts? There's Facebook advertising of the GoFundMe. Somebody's paying Facebook to push the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Is Ron 100% there? Are there any cognitive issues?
Well, that's regrettably what I have to say today. And that is this, and I it's an opinion, it's a total opinion. But right now, I am afraid that Ron is not exactly, shall we say, mentally fluid. I don't know what is going on. I'm not there, obviously, within their boundaries, their residency, and all that. I'm suspicious now of Jan, and I hate to say it like that. I'm not accusing. I'm not trying to tap dance here, too, folks. I know, including you, Dave. You might be, well, what are you inferring? I wish they would be more. I wish they'd be more upfront. And you want to use me? They could use somebody like me to at least put out the notion that they are trying to balance their lives professionally and personally. They've got children. They are children still to them. These are daughters. I understand it's a very tight balance there. It's a tightrope of all tightropes, but you cannot be silent and keep open this kind of, well, where the hell is some of this money going? Where's all the money? Why did you suddenly declare bankruptcy at the moment we saw your debts? The credit card companies that are now suing you, the multiple mortgages that you took out over a short length of time, the curious still move from Seacliff in San Francisco, a stone's throw from Sharon Stone's house, to all of a sudden Scottsdale, Arizona. I know about the Parkinson's. I know about the fact that the weather was more climate worthy of your existence. I get all that. But then all of a sudden, we have all these new developments and nobody's saying anything. Now people are not returning my calls. When they were the first to call me, contact me, talk to me. I'm not talking about an ego situation here. I don't mean about like that. I'm talking about when it fits your convenience to get word out, and then you contact me, but then you're suddenly very quiet and not saying, hey, at least look, lead me to some type of truth fruition here. What the hell is going on? They can't talk. I understand that on the record because of their daughter's legal situation, but they can at least give me, or anybody else for that matter, has not happened. Yeah. And the Bay Area, and by that, I want to say this, very important. The Bay Area press here, Dave, has largely ignored this. And I think it has to do with, you want to put professional courtesy, they're giving Ron a pass. And I'm sorry, this is a public story. It's a public, and it is news. Unfortunately for Ron and Jan, and perhaps Laura too, it is news when it involves you, Ron. I'm sorry to say that. Until you tell me otherwise, either on or off the record. And by the way, I've invited them on my show. Ron said he would do my show a couple of times. Then he suddenly backed out after numerous attempts to get him to say, I understand, again, being what's taking place. But now all of a sudden they're clamming up. They had a public, Jan gave a public, kind of a benign statement to the San Jose Mercury News with regards to the bankruptcy. But something smells to high heaven here, and it's not being covered, and this part has not even anything to do with Laura, other than the fact, how are the lawyers getting paid? who's paying for some of these other expenses? Who is, is the money being funneled? Once again, the suspicion exists. That's not my doing.
Yeah, and it's fair to ask these questions. It's fair to ask about his health. Going back to 2023, in December of 2023, this case was days away from being dismissed because there was inactivity, and it forced Clayton to spend a lot of money on lawyers that was raised by our audience to start arguing over the fees, and because of that, it kept this case alive, which is just unearthed. My source at the DOJ is saying up to 100,000 or so pages of documents. So once they start looking into it, we really have no idea what they have found on some of these devices. We have evidence that I've seen, actual evidence of not just Laura, but her mom lying to police in San Francisco from nearly a decade ago about abuses. So this sort of like playing of the victim, this privately trying to tell people one thing and publicly making another statement. I'm sure Jan has had choice words to say about me. I mean, I've seen it in body cam footage I shared yesterday, which was Jan accusing me of being this crazy person, but none of it adds up. And you're asking all the right questions. I love what you're doing. You're so close to 1,000 subscribers. You might be at it already. Just to let my audience know, we always love to support creators of all kinds. You deserve to be paid on YouTube for the work you're doing. And once you get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours, you get monetized. So I really hope people can go give you a subscribe. I know you're going to have a lot of content coming regarding this. Is there anything else we can promote for you?
Well, just the fact, I appreciate your support. And, I want to just say this too. This is not something that I normally cover. I cover media. And I talk about issues in the media, and et cetera, et cetera. People say, oh, you're just trying to profit. Profit now, all of a sudden, I've been told that I was bought off. Let's see, I have been bought off by Ron. I have been bought off somehow by Jan. I've been this, that, other. Meanwhile, lampooning this guy for a better part of 10 years and basically calling him out. So, look, if you want to follow me, and I invite all of your supporters, of course, it's at Rich 415 Media, or you could just type my name in, Rich Lieberman, YouTube, and we talk about everything. I'll be on this now, like, a shark on blood, that kind of a thing. And I just appreciate your help. I appreciate your support. And hopefully we'll all have some clarity to this issue, which is what I want. And I know that you want.
Yeah, can't wait for this thing to end. Well, thanks again for taking the time to chat with us, and come back anytime.
Thanks, Dave, for having me on.
Well, that was a long one, but we had a lot to get to. If you're not familiar with this story, I mean, have we oversold it, or is it not crazy? Maybe this is why they're making a documentary. If I were friends with Laura or had contact with someone who was friends with her, I'd say, get her the medication she needs, get her to the doctors, get her in a hospital, help her out. She's clearly crying for attention, crying for help. She's got a problem. We're not the solution, but maybe, she'll finally realize there is no wiggling your way out of this one. We are more focused on the justice for the victims, and yet we still really do wish her all the best. We'll be back this afternoon. We'll see you then. By the way, I'm in St. Louis. I'm there all weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, St. Louis Funny Bone opening for my pal, Gabe Kia. Come join us, hang out. We'll see you then. I'm Dave. This is The Rush.